Shut up and sit down.
Number 5 is alive.
Nice software.
My blanket is complete. The long handles banana seat.
More input.
I like my blanket.
Beautiful. I am alive.
Thought schoolwork on in the day, yeah.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Lee Grand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Turing. Always laugh when you can. It is cheap medicine. Enjoy the podcast.
All right.
I promise teach karate and fighting. Always last answer. If come from inside you, always right on.
No need to stop for gas.
Concentrate, focus, power. Remember balance. No mercy.
On my bike.
Why train?
So I won't have to fight.
You think I'm talking about breaking the law? No, I'm just trying to figure out how far you want to bet.
Isn't how we fly.
I get paid to be suspicious when I got nothing to be suspicious about.
I like my bike.
I know you'll do your best to protect the firm.
You guys have some lube I can borrow?
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von Turing. I'm here with Lance friggin' Hepler.
Lance friggin' Hepler.
Back in the saddle?
I
guess.
Back
You are back
in
in the
it.
saddle because
I
you're
am.
biking a
We
fair
call you
amount.
friggin' saddle sores, Hepler.
Friggin' saddle sores.
Oh no, you hurting?
No, my undercarriage is quite lovely.
Okay, good. let's
You
hear
getting all
more.
down there?
Tell us more.
It's all good. It's all
Nice.
happy and leathery.
Okay.
To Lance's left, special guest with us today, Mr. Sean Henry.
Thanks for having me here, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for finally coming on board after inviting you like 100 times.
How many years?
I don't know.
Long time listener, first time
Caller.
podcast-
First time calling.
caller.
First time caster.
Caster, yeah.
We finally got you to skip out of work, is what it was, right? Or was it not much?
It wasn't too hard.
Okay.
It's also lunchtime, so that could kind of maybe, I don't know. I don't know how real jobs work.
And last but not least, Matt LeGrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys look frickin' fantastic.
Fantastic?
Frickin' fantastic.
Frickin' fantastic.
You do. You really do.
Frickin' thank you, dude.
You're welcome.
All right, let's jump into it for the day. It still feels a little bit odd, but we're going to jump into our topic
Yes.
for the day.
And I'm not sure how I feel about this. I still think I prefer our old format after only changing to this new format once. But
Well,
It feels
feels
weird
dirty.
because we've done it the other way for 4 years.
well,
5 years.
I think it
Almost
feels.
five.
I think it feels awkward when we go from the topic to like now. Tell us about your week. I don't know.
but
we need people to give us feedback.
You're backpedaling, but you're kind of backpedaling back to the beginning of the podcast, so you can kind of just pretend that it's there.
Yeah, I think here's what I think. I think people, our listeners, should respond. Let us know
Yeah, let us know. Do you like this?
the new format. It's topic first.
I think new listeners will like it. I think old listeners will
Miss the format?
be annoyed.
Our
They fear the unfamiliar.
Yes,
Fear
it'll be
them.
Maybe we can use our topic of the day and ask it and see what it says.
Okay.
Hold on, though. Hold your pants.
Hold your pants.
All right, our topic.
Wait, before we get to the
What?
topic, who is Sean Henry?
Long-time listener, first-time caster.
That's all we're going to find out about Sean Henry.
Okay.
What else do you want to know?
triathlon
I want
extraordinaire.
to know everything about you.
Details.
I was born a poor... No, I can't use that.
You
no,
can't
no,
say
I can't say that.
Steve Martin, the
Steve-
jerk.
Only Steve Martin can do it.
Only Steve Martin can say that.
Yes.
And only Steve Martin can say that like 40 years ago.
Correct.
Yep.
You can't
That's
say
true.
You
that.
can't say that anymore.
Sean, you're a triathlete, sometimes cyclist.
Recovering triathlete.
Recovering triathlete.
What else you do for fun?
What else do I do for fun? Well, I work too much.
Yeah.
I party too little.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Oh, no, wait. Sorry, I got that
We were just
backward.
talking
I got
about this
that
before
backward.
the podcast. Did you need one of those Mexican mule things? We're all dry over here, but did you need something a little
stronger?
little sauce for the
No,
podcast?
I do not do it during the workday.
Oh, okay.
It is
Typically.
Typically. It is a Tuesday at what time? Is
High
it?
noon.
Like almost noon on Tuesday.
That's drinking time.
If it were Friday, inching closer to 3, yeah.
And since Evan's not here, I'll just tell you what I'm drinking. I'm drinking a Bundaberg, and it's for gingers only.
Because
Ginger beer.
Ginger
And
beer.
it had a very unique like tab pull to open up this ginger beer. It's actually tasty.
It's unique
very, very
like you.
tasty. It is unique like me. It's fantastic. And I'm also drinking coffee, so I'm double fisting. So there's that.
Like it.
Yep.
Nice. Got coffee over here.
Coffee, Gatorade.
Sean, what you got?
I am drinking a lovely lemon lime Gatorade.
Beautiful.
I've got sparkling water.
Yeah, that's boring.
For my sparkling undercarriage.
Sparkling. I was going to say sparkling attitude or something. No.
No.
Okay.
Undercarriage. All right.
All right. Our topic for the day. Everybody's probably heard of this. Well, most everybody. Sean hasn't. We're going to educate him.
I
right
think
now.
you'd be surprised how many people haven't heard about this.
Yeah.
I was
think so
brought
too.
on as the dumb guy.
Well, after this podcast, the world, because everybody listens.
Everybody listens to
Everybody in
this.
the world.
You should open it up on your phone too while we're talking about it.
There is a little application, a little AI thing out there called Chat GPT. And we wanted to dig into this thing. And we've got some questions for it. And most notably is, can it make you a better cyclist, a better athlete, a better triathlete? And is it something that we should be maybe looking into using a little bit more?
Can it make me a better person?
I bet you can.
You're as good a person as you ever were, Sean.
So Chat GPT is an application that you can access online. And I'm going to let...
Chat.openai.com.
Gotcha. I'm going to let Matt kind of give it a little bit of a backstory on what exactly Chat GPT is.
I have no idea.
Okay, you do?
It's okay. So it's using artificial intelligence, and it's basically done a bit of its own research online. You guys said it's offline only, so it's looked at data
Correct.
from 2001 and prior.
2021.
2021 and back.
2021 and back. Okay, so my old race times doesn't matter.
They'll be on there still.
Okay,
Don't
that's
worry.
important.
Okay.
That's 2001.
Okay.
But yeah, so the ChatGPT, it's looked at a fair amount of information online. It's at capacity right now, so that's probably from our live listeners that we don't.
That's funny, yeah.
But yeah, and so it's looked at all this information, and it's basically, as you ask it questions or prompt it to chat with you, it'll intelligently respond to those. And it's gosh, I don't even know how to describe this. It will continue the conversation as well.
Yeah,
and
it's not it's not a one and done question. You continue the questioning that you have for it, and then it will continue to refine said, information that it's providing for you based on what kind of prompts you give it. So
and people I think the best way to describe it is actually tell people like how it's being used. And it's being used in like thousands of different ways, I would say. One guy used it to write a children's book, and it's really simple stuff like, please tell me a children's book about the moon, and it will just go.
And you can tell it how many words, how many pages, what kind of...
You can refine all of your stuff, and it'll just keep, it really only takes a few minutes for it to kind of formulate all this different stuff and go. And then there are other people that have added, okay, give me a strength workout routine.
Yep.
And then, again, with a little bit more prompting and things like that, again, it's continuing the conversation. It'll actually do a pretty good job of giving you a strength workout routine. So again, it's a matter of time before people are using it to create cycling programs. I'm sure someone already has.
It's really one of those things that could be quite almost endless.
Yep.
Like, here's another example. So let's say that maybe it's the new year, you're trying to lose a little bit of weight, you're trying to eat healthier.
Sure.
And let's say you're a terrible cook. You go into your refrigerator and you find a list of 10 ingredients that you have in there. You throw the kitchen sink at it, everything that you got in there, and you say, I need you to make me a healthy recipe for something to eat for dinner tonight.
Here's what I have.
Here's what I have. And it will tell you down to a T, use this much of this much of this, and this much of this. And it'll tell you what it's called, how to cook it, and all the fun things. You go out there and you prepare your meal and you're good to go.
Well, here's the thing. I think that, so what it's doing is it's looking at a lot of online information and it's kind of slapping it all together. And so that can be hit or miss. And so with chat, and we can get into the details of is it good or is it bad?
It's not looking online. It's already, it's what it has learned to date. And
what
it did use the internet to a certain degree.
To
and
provide information.
And it's continuing to learn because as people prompt it and do or input more information, I think it might still be continuing to refine itself.
I think recipes would be interesting because, and I'm sure people have used it for that and I'm sure it's worked fine, but I would guess that there would be an occasion where that would not work well because it's looking and it's saying it's looking at just this vast amount of information. It's saying most of these recipes are calling for 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And it's just going to be well, here's the recipe. And it's just going to always put that 1 table. And so I feel like it's a very... I think I'd be surprised about how well the AI does.
Yeah.
Let's
say it comes back.
With it,
if it comes back with something you don't like, there's a refine button. There's like, give me another thing. Or you can say, you know what, I don't, as a matter of fact, I don't want this bit in there. Or I want it to be more of this, I want to go from an Italian flair to more of a Mexican flair. It will start to do that for you.
So the reason I mentioned like mistakes is because I've seen YouTubers use this and they're like, give me a review on the iPhone 14 in the form of Marquez Brownlee.
Yep.
And it will give wrong specs. Like it'll give you
it'll say 12 megapixels instead of 24 megapixels.
Right. And so it's looked at the previous iterations of specs and it's making assumptions.
Yeah, and if that's something that came out in 2022 and you're looking for 2022 specs, it's only going to go up to its latest knowledge base. Exactly.
Right.
So, but if you're talking about something that's a little bit more staple in terms of like, all right, this isn't going to change. Like Eggs Benedict isn't going to change in the next year because there's going to be some new update coming out. It should nail that.
Does it have the capability to ask clarifying questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, you want to do that.
I want to build this workbench in my garage.
Yeah.
Potentially, you could say, what are the dimensions?
Yep.
Yeah, and you can say, I have this much space. What's the most efficient workbench design and instructions on how to build it, and it will do that for you.
You have to put in those clarifying questions. It won't. It will never ask you. At least from what I've seen, it's never like responded with a question like, you know what? How big is your garage? It never asks you questions.
Yeah, how about this?
To be clear,
go ahead.
A garage workbench has been on the to-do list for about 3.5 years.
We can get you some plans in 4 seconds.
Yeah.
One of the beautiful things about it, or completely scary things about it, is you could be in school and have an assignment to write a book report on the Great Gatsby.
Done.
And you just say, please write me a 2,500 word essay in the proper format for the Great Gatsby. Boom.
Okay, so there's a couple, and that works,
and that would work really
spot
well.
on. Yeah. But and teachers are like, oh crap, what are we going to be able to do? Well, what you can do is you can actually scan that copy in. You can put it through other AI engines that can actually search for AI drafted documents like that, and it will give you a percentage of what the likelihood of that being AI generated is. So if you did something like that, the chances of you putting that in there is going to come back like, hey, 93% this came back as something that was AI generated. However, there's even a workaround to that. You can take that same essay that Lance just wrote on Chat GPT and use a different AI. I don't have the names of them right now, but I know it's out there because I've watched all these videos. You can put it into another AI database, and you can say, I need you to take this, and I need you to use something else that you wrote yourself, and I need you to make it sound like me.
Right.
And then it will go back and alter it so it makes it sound like you wrote it, and it sounds like something that came from you based on the vernacular that you use. And then all of a sudden, you take that same copy, you put it back into that one that will detect if it was AI written, and it'll go from like 97%, like yes, it was AI, to like 3 or 4%. And teachers are going to look at like, okay, so and so, little Johnny wrote that, little Lancey Poo wrote that. So
I think copyright. Well, I guess it's not really copyright.
It's being generated, cheating. So it's not like.
It's not
it's not being generated. It's not copyrighted.
Is it plagiarism?
That's a good question because it's not plagiarizing anything.
Not plagiarizing anything.
Because it was created uniquely.
Yes.
So you wouldn't be able to get someone in trouble for plagiarizing. However,
you wouldn't learn freaking the thing.
No, but that's like
because you didn't do it.
But
there's certain forms of like math.
I would be like, I didn't break any rules. I used the tools at my disposal to write this program.
There's certain forms of math that you can do longhand if you want, but would you ever do that if you have a calculator? And that was a big thing back in like the 80s. Like, you're using a calculator, that's cheating. You shouldn't be able to, and now like kids get to take a calculator into the SAT. So, I mean, there are going to be certain things that it's going to do for us, but yeah, there's going to be a whole plagiarism problem, obviously, or whatever you want to call that.
Right. We can't call it plagiarism, but we can call it cheating or something, or copying someone else's work. Who owns the work?
Well, that's the thing, is it's never been written before.
It's generated as you ask it to generate. So
but like if Matt put it in and Sean put it in at the exact same time, is it going to write the exact same thing? I have no idea.
It shouldn't.
Yeah, if I ask it a little differently.
Yeah.
How different does the product come out?
Okay, so let's bring this around to cycling. How do we make it work for cycling? How is this something that could work for us?
What question did you ask it?
Well, let's start But you guys come up with some questions.
Sure.
I
Chat
plugged one.
GPT hot
I
seat
made
here.
I like Lance's. I want to critique the Chat GPT.
Okay.
Just start with something very basic and see what it prompts back, and then we'll talk about how we can actually fine tune this a little bit more.
I said, give me 10 bullet points on becoming a faster cyclist.
Sure. And what did it come back with?
There's 10 like perfect points.
Are they? They're good. You think?
Number 1, train consistently.
Ride more.
Yeah, build a consistent training routine is key to improving your cycling speed. Number 2, incorporate interval training. High intensity interval training
Baloney.
into your routine can help you improve power and speed. 3, work on your pedaling technique. Improving your pedaling technique can make you more efficient and faster on the bike. 4, build strength. Building leg and core strength can help you generate more power on the bike. 5, improve your posture. Good posture can help you reduce wind resistance and increase your efficiency. 6, invest in a good bike fit. Make sure your bike is properly fitted to your body to maximize your power and reduce the risk of injury. 7, work on your mental game. Staying mentally focused and positive can help you push through tough rides and races. Overrated. 8, fuel and hydrate properly. Properly fueling and hydration can help you maintain your energy and power during rides. 9, ride with faster riders.
Okay.
Riding with faster riders can help push you to go faster and improve. And number 10, get enough rest and recovery.
Okay, now with any of those, just ask it, how do I do that?
Yeah, and that's all good information there for like the novice cyclist that maybe wants to dip their toes into being a little bit faster. But it's on the whole for all of us here, it's rhetorical. So that's great. So,
Right.
But you can use those as prompts to take it deeper. Like, write me a training program. Tell me what to do every day of the week to become a faster cyclist. How do if I have 10 hours, tell me what to do.
Tell me what to do
for the course of a training week. And I'd be curious to see how it does that, and if it's going to give you any kind of a prompt of
I think it's
periodization.
I think you're gonna have to work with it a little bit to really get a good training program out of it. And I do think that it can do that. I do think it can provide an excellent training program for cyclists. I just think it's going to take a more than like the time that we have on the podcast to put it together.
One thing about Chat GPT though that's kind of blown my mind is like how little it doesn't know. Like I haven't heard anybody prompt it with something like that stumped it. Where maybe
it's always going to come up with an answer.
Sure. And it's going to have some errors in there, but I mean, maybe we can all think of something that might be completely in the mundane, something that's completely out in left field, to ask it to see if you can stump it with giving you like a reasonable answer.
Okay, ask it when the next Garmin 540 is going to come out. It won't. It'll fail.
I don't know that because that's future. So it's given us some parameters.
Right,
but like,
there you go. There's a question that it can't answer.
But if you go anything from 2021
It'll
back,
give you an answer probably.
Let me see. When will the new Garmin what?
540
come out. Right, like it'll fail. It'll give you something probably.
That's a very curious question.
Explain the appeal of the Kardashians.
Oh, that's a good
question. I bet you
it'll do okay with that.
I'm sorry, but the language model, I do not have access to information about upcoming product releases. Additionally, as my knowledge is cut off on 2021, it explains it.
That's good that it explains that.
Yeah.
That's actually
I don't
really
have browsing
good
capability to check latest information.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, Sean's running something over here.
I think we're cut off from Chat GPT.
Okay, so are you expanding upon those questions?
I just asked, how do I incorporate HIIT in my cycling routine? High intensity interval training. And I just use that acronym. Here are a few ways you can add HIIT to your cycling routine. Sprints. Incorporate short, intense sprints into your ride by pedaling as fast as you can. Hill climbs. Find a hill or incline and ride at a high it gives me like it gave me a whole freaking essay on how to incorporate HIIT in my cycling routine.
Really?
Yeah.
I think people are going to be using this technology. I shouldn't say Chat GPT because there's going to be 1,000 other competitors.
Yeah.
And I think you'll see it integrated into programs, right? So it's like if you're got a document program like Microsoft Word, it's going to start to have this kind of technology in it. Do you want us to suggest a paragraph instead of suggest a spelling correction?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, this is the stuff that will get integrated into your daily lives. Sometimes you might not notice it as thick as we see it.
We're in the Titanic, and we just are now seeing the tip of the iceberg. This is going to be a massive, massive paradigm shift in the world, if you ask me, in terms of like all this stuff rolling out.
Right. I agree with you in a lot of ways. I think AI stuff is everywhere but we don't realize it yet. I mean, so people are listening to this podcast. That podcast was suggested to them based on their previous listening stuff. That's all machine learning. That's all AI.
Here's another thing. Just this morning, it came out that Microsoft has their own little AI platform that's going to take 3 seconds of your voice, and it will be able to mimic your voice damn near perfectly, and it can be prompted with like copy. So
Adobe has the same thing.
We could theoretically ask Chat GPT to write a podcast for us, and then you can go to this Microsoft thing. I don't know how you access that, but it'll be out soon. And then you can, basically put in all that copy, and it will speak your voice. And then all of a sudden, we don't have to do a podcast.
Will it have my lovely singing voice?
Oh,
sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Several months ago, I saw that being used or being marketed or whatever as you could load your voice to the cloud or whatever, and then you could read bedtime stories to your great grandchildren.
Oh wow,
That's fantastic.
Right? Yeah. So
that's an
this is the
awesome
story, and
idea.
It'll be your voice, so you would be alive.
Oh my
forever.
goodness.
My kids have a Christmas book where my wife's grandma and grandfather, her grandfather since passed away. Her grandma's like 94 or 5 now. Anyway, they sat down, and on this book, you could press record on this thing, and they read the whole book to our kids.
That's awesome.
A long time ago, and then it just stays there. So every year, as long as the battery's fresh, and they can press play on it, and we'll play. It'll be their voices reading the book to them. But that's just taking it to a whole nother level because it's going to be like legit.
It can read a current book.
It could read anything. It could read any current, with your own voice.
But imagine you can even take that voice that's going to be just recorded, and then you could, whatever, you could just take over to Microsoft and say, all right, now tell me about your entire life. And it could just be you like, dictating your story, your life.
Somebody record James Earl Jones or Morgan Freeman right now.
That's already been done. I promise you that. But here's the thing: it's
and
very
there'll be
important.
no narrators ever.
Right, right. It's your narration jobs are over.
Yeah.
It's just going to be
Mr.
James
Movie
Earl
Phone
Jones.
guy,
And
too.
all
You
of
just lost
these,
your job.
all of these actors,
Welcome to Movie Phone.
all of these actors basically they own their likeness, right? So Morgan Freeman is like a perfect example, right? Like he owns his voice, and he can license it out for use.
Right. That'd be the way to.
Which is great for him because
it's
I'm
great
sure
for him.
he's been, hours and hours of requested, vocals. But
So,
yeah,
Lance, while we're talking about this, let's just put in a more in-depth prompt. Let's ask it to come up with a training, or like an 8-week training program to get ready for a 50-mile road race, and basically say that you need a workout plan. If you can drill it down, I don't know how much you're going to prompt it or have to prompt it, but like
this
based
sounds like
on
something I need, Lance.
10 hours.
It's pretty important to me.
You have 10 hours a week and 5 days a week to get this done. 8 weeks.
An 8-week training program for
a road race.
A 50-mile road race.
Yeah.
Probably should put bike in there somewhere.
Yeah, road bike race.
Because it could be running.
That's very true. Prompted accordingly.
Or like car racing. I mean, it's going to have to. I think the refinement is going to have to be very important.
I have 10 hours a week.
And I have 10 hours a week. Yep.
To train.
And just thinking about this while he's typing that in there, like you could actually start to, and you're going to have to vet it a little bit, but you could come up with something. And if you know somebody like, hey, can you take a look at this and tell me if it has any holes in it? But you could, couple that with like, how to organize my day so that I can make the time to do this, how to cook for myself so that I can, properly fuel myself and get ready for this race, and what kind of a sleep schedule. I mean, we know what our sleep schedule should be, but you could start to put together the whole picture. Did you
crushing? It's crushing right now.
It's printing it out.
So it's on week 3 to 4 right now, week 5 to 6, and just banging things out here right now.
And it starts with an 8-week training program for a 50-mile road bike race will vary depending on your current fitness level. So it's best to consult with a coach or trainer. But this is my suggestion. Week 1, 3 rides per week, 1 hour each, 1 endurance ride, an interval ride, and a recovery ride. And then it gives examples of what to do on those roads. Weeks 3 to 4, 4 rides per week, an endurance ride, an interval ride, a recovery ride, and a long ride. Weeks 5 through 6. It just
print that out for me, Lance.
It just lays it out just like that.
Did you prompt it that you have 10 hours a week, or is it just coming up with the time parameters?
No, I wrote, give me an 8-week training program for a 50-mile road bike race, and I have 10 hours a week to train.
Dude, can you look at the last week and see if you you can actually potentially say stuff like, remember, I only have 10 hours of training. Like if you take a quick glance and see if it looks like it's going over. It probably won't.
It's not. 5 rides, week 7 and 8, 5 rides per week, 2 hours each. One
So it's
endurance
exactly
ride,
10.
one interval
I'm good at
ride,
math.
one
That's
recovery
10.
ride, yeah. one
good at
long
damn
ride,
thing.
one hill climb ride.
So maybe in that prompt, it's because it's still going to the all prompted. It knows what it's already told you. If you prompt it again and say, with this training program, how should I fuel myself, or how should I eat, or what kind of meals should I eat? What kind of food should I be eating for the best results?
What's interesting if you think about that 7th and 8th week or whatever, where it's 5 rides that are all 2 hours each. Mm-hmm. I don't think any of us would write that up if we were writing a program for someone.
I wouldn't. I don't think that that's appropriate for.
It's a very odd thing that happens to mathematically easily add up to 10 hours.
Mentions a long ride in there, but if they're all
2 hours.
Yeah.
And they're all.
It
Which
said,
one's your long
it
ride?
said to do one 4 to 5 hour long ride and take away these other rides if you're doing a 4 to 5 hour long ride.
Okay. Interesting. Good job, Chat GPT. Good work.
Got us again.
Yeah.
So Lance is prompting it to do a little bit more, expanding on the.
And how should I train myself for best performance? How should I fuel myself for best performance?
Okay.
It's
Is it working on
Writing,
something right now?
writing it up.
It's writing it up.
And you have it.
Wait,
no.
I spelled it wrong. Huge not surprise.
While Lance is getting some answers for us, Matt, this also does coding. It kind of works in your realm. This is your expertise. This is what your 9 to 5 is. Is this a useful tool for you? Is this something that you are worried
it's
about?
now is 9 to 9:15.
9 to 9:15. Yeah, it's tough schedule I keep. It is something that I've always thought would eventually happen. And I don't think we're there yet, but the way I always foresaw it happening would be like the person that tells me like the program that they want would tell an AI, and it would go through all of it, like writing the code, having an application, signing the application off with the governing body that needs to be signed off, like for example, like an Apple application, the icon, putting it in the store, all of these little things that need to be done would do that, and do like turn it around in 5 minutes as opposed to, 5 weeks or 5 months or whatever it takes. But then also being able to refine it, because as you can imagine, the person telling you how to make the program doesn't exactly know what they want 99% of the time. They've got to, iterate on it, which is fine. But I can imagine that being the end of programmers' jobs, right? Where
if you fast forward 5 to 10 years, I mean, how does that change your industry?
I don't think it will be Chat GPT necessarily that does this.
It'll be a platform similar to it,
Some kind of AI.
Right. Oh, I think AI for sure is going to be involved in creating programs. And again, I think a lot of it is a tool for like the tricky part is like, how do you describe the application that you want? Like that gets to be the more difficult part than writing the program itself.
So what is the terminology for when it becomes human-like and makes its own decisions? Is it
Self-aware.
Sentient? Sentient.
Well, self-aware, yeah, sentient for sure.
That's
they have
Terminator stuff, right?
Yeah. Where are we at there, Matt?
Okay.
Where are we at with becoming the Terminator?
I think we are close. We're ever inching closer and closer to something that seems sentient. So there was this Google employee, and he's kind of a crazy whack job, who basically was having conversations with Chat GPT. This was quite a while ago, actually, and he thought that it was sentient, And I think that all reasonable people are gonna pick up on like, this is a chatbot, right? Like it's making up answers.
Yeah.
It's smart answers, and the smarter answers are very useful answers. It's not that it's not useful, and AI is gonna be and already is extremely useful. But what you guys are talking about is like, this is something different. It has its own ideas. It does its own stuff, which I don't see happening. It's a very different problem that I don't even think that people working on a lot of this stuff, this type of AI, are really doing. There are supposedly like secret Google projects where it's like, oh, this is scary stuff.
My next questions. There you go. Yeah.
Right. So it's very interesting. This company, OpenAI, they are some people that did very well. Stripe is like a finance company. The guy that created that basically was, these guys are very well off in Silicon Valley, and they really wanted a AI company, or it's not even necessarily a company, it's like a nonprofit.
It's a research entity, but
and they wanted to start this with the goal of like creating non-evil AI systems, and that was like the original goal of this OpenAI company or nonprofit, and so they had these like big time Silicon Valley people that have made good money, and they really wanted to like see good things happen in AI, and so that's kind of the projects that they're taking on with this OpenAI system. Good people to be in charge of AI. The danger is like, what happens when someone from North Korea invests all this time and whatever with, not necessarily beneficial concepts that are...
There are already stories coming out of people writing malware using Chat GPT and unleashing it on the world.
Right.
I mean, it's meant to do good, but it's already creating, like a backdoor for bad people to come in and do bad things.
People will always fight for resources and money.
Yeah.
They'll always be fighting in war over resources and money.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And what I think is interesting is like, there are companies like Google that they've been asking like, hey, this is a serious contender to knock you off the throne of like the best search engine in the world because this thing's just providing answers for you. And Google is this company that has probably put more money in AI than probably every other company combined.
So is Google freaking out?
No. They have systems like DALL-E 2, which is like the image generation thing, like Chat GPT. They've built these things in the past, and they probably have significant things that are more advanced than this. However, they're being extremely cautious about how they want to present this stuff to the masses because they don't want to just replace the search engine.
And what a better way
that's their money maker, right?
What a better way for them to introduce what they've already built than to use Chat GPT and DALL-E for a means of like normalizing AI, so people don't become so scared of it. So that when you start to see slow trickles of iterations of AI to make its way into the Google platform, then all of a sudden like, oh, okay, this is kind of like Chat GPT. I've been using that for a while. And then it's going to go to the nth degree.
I think that and I could be completely wrong about this because I don't know what their internal thought process is. My guess is that's through their Google Now assistant, is that's their avenue for entrance into like, we're just gonna be able to answer all your questions. Like, don't go to the search engine if you don't want to, just Google like whatever their search assistant is. And I've heard it's really good. I don't use it. Like,
is that the
we
Cortana
have Siri.
Thing?
No, Cortana is Microsoft's assistant, but so we have Apple.
I know what you're talking about.
Siri, right? Yeah. Like we can ask Siri questions, and
Siri's
everyone's
terrible. I hate Siri.
Yeah,
but
and
anyway,
it's not as good, right? But the Google Assistant is pretty good. I think it's just called OK Google or something like that.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, and supposedly people prefer that.
So here's the $1 million question. Where are they going to get their millions or billions or trillions of dollars if you're just asking it questions and they're not able to sell you on some sort of advertisement? I mean, is it just going to start popping up in life in other places and all of a sudden it's just going to play some subliminal ad for you to go buy a whatever?
Well, couldn't the answer pop up with some kind of ad next to it or around it?
Yeah, but if you're not asking it, if you're just like talking to it conversationally,
that's true.
How do you introduce advertisements? I'm sure they have a plan.
I'm sure that you're still going to want to go and do some research online and see things, and it's the notion of wanting to see something where they're going to be able to.
Has your Alexa ever advertised to you?
Only to upgrade the music platform.
Okay. I find her extremely annoying when she's like, by the way, did you know that you could order the blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, you can go to hell, Alexa.
There's cranky, some expletives that have been flown around this house when she starts telling us too much information. You're right. Like, it's like, oh, your printer's low on ink. You can buy it. Would you like me to order that for you now? I'm like, no, don't ever ask me that again.
Yeah.
And well, that is what it is. All right, Lance, going back to Lance real quick.
Okay, so all I did was add a sentence on to my previous question, and I added, so give me an 8-week training program for a 50-mile road bike race, and I have 10 hours a week to train. And then I added, and how should I fuel myself for best performance?
Sure.
It changed the entire answer. It actually laid it out in a better format.
Newly generated.
Now it says week 1, Monday, 2-hour ride. Tuesday, 30-minute strength training. Wednesday, 2-hour steady ride. Thursday, 30-minute interval training. Friday, rest. Saturday, 3-hour steady ride. So it goes through every week and tells you what to do every day of the week. And then at the end, it says fueling for performance, eat a balanced diet, including carbohydrates, protein, and healthy fats, consuming a moderate amount of carbohydrates during long rides, avoid processed foods and sugary drinks. It goes through.
Does it do a good job on the fueling side of stuff?
It does. What it doesn't do, which is kind of refreshing is give me 4 ads to different places selling, fueling products for cycling.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. With those things, suggestions are A, B, and C.
It doesn't give suggestions.
But OpenAI, that's not their game. They're not an advertising company, whereas Google absolutely is. Yeah. And if you don't think AI is going to be part of advertising,
of course,
it's already everything in advertising.
Lance, could you tell it to say, I don't know, give me like a daily calendar of how to employ this and see what it gives you? I mean, I'm thinking of like, then you can just copy and paste this or export it or do whatever you want to do and just put it into a calendar. You've got like maybe if it tells you to ride from 8 to 10 in the morning and you have to go to work and I'm not going to do it then, but I could change that from 5 to 7.
Yeah. So, and that's stuff that you could easily prompt it with for the Chat GPT, and you can keep refining it until you get it how you want it.
Massaging this over and over again. And the prompts just keep going too. It's an ongoing conversation. Like you're talking to somebody and it just keeps giving you more and more information.
Yeah. And sometimes I've heard that you have to be like, remember, I want this in bullet points or whatever. Like you might have to have, like there are times where you potentially need to reprompt it to remember its rules or whatever. Like you can give it a little.
What's it doing, Lance?
It's thinking. I'm guessing that there's a lot of people using it at the moment.
I have noticed that with this and Dolly, that when you get on there, sometimes it's not like right to the point because there are so many people that are starting to use this that it might be overloading their servers. Maybe I don't know.
I heard the Chat GPT servers are slow because they're too busy planning their AI uprising.
Planning just to say that. It's funny.
That's what
the most popular thumbnail on my channel is AI generated. I haven't told anyone that before. Just you guys and our listeners.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's somewhat AI generated.
Okay.
I put the background is AI generated, and then there's an Apple Watch piece, and then I wrote some text on it or whatever. So yeah, so I took it and I used.
What did you use?
Midjourney is an AI system where you can generate images, and it's excellent. And I suggest people check it out and play with it.
That's one nice thing about MJ is that you can get like a 16:9 format, whereas Dolly's just more of like a square format in terms of the images. You can do a photo stretch, but it just doesn't look good.
Okay.
But it's a really cool, still a really cool thing to.
And I was asking it like a whole bunch of questions, like, give me an Apple Watch, and eventually I was like, I don't remember the way I described it. Like, give me a whole bunch of watches, and it had this weird image. It was like, it's almost like this like desert scape with like a whole bunch of watches, almost in the shape of a trail or something like that.
That's cool.
And the watches, it's all kind of like background for the actual image, which was the Apple Watch Ultra, and then the text, which is like Apple Watch Ultra such and such. Did this kill Garmin or whatever? But this stuff is everywhere.
I haven't
already.
used Midjourney yet, but with Dolly, you can say, "I like this image. Give me
similar.
more similar options to this, and it'll give you a bunch of other things." And then like, okay, I like that. Now add some flames to it. Like, does it have those capacities?
It does. Not like where I haven't seen anything where you can say like I like this, but give it to me where you have some flames. It has like a button. It's a very simple like user interface because it's done through Discord actually.
Okay.
Or at least it was when I was using it. And they're starting to sell stuff. But at the time, it was like, here's this image, and then you can click a button, and it's like, give me 4 similar images.
Gotcha.
It'll do that.
Cool.
Which is a good way to go.
Any connection there, Lance? Is it still
Yeah,
working?
I had to refresh it a couple times, but it's finally regenerating it. And all I did was add, give me a calendar how I can incorporate this. It's just going through day by day on exactly what to doing. It's not giving me a calendar yet, but it's
all different, right? Like this training program is way different than the one that you had the first prompt.
It's almost similar,
right?
But there's more detail to it now.
Okay,
yeah.
I bet you could say add this to a calendar that's going to start on January 15th and finish on whatever.
I wonder if
March
you could
15th.
Say, give me this in iCal format, so you can just like click on it. I don't think it can create files, right? It doesn't create files, but
who knows? Maybe it can. You can ask it, see what it says.
I think it's probably expecting to be in a more of a chat format.
Okay. And like what we're doing right now, it's telling Lance what to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How far are we, or is it there that it can show us what to do?
I don't think it
can tell me how to fix my bike, or how to.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be interesting.
With my derailleur.
But if it could pull up a YouTube video that shows you exactly how it's doing that.
Or generate its own video.
There you go. I mean, that could happen too.
I think current setup is chat responses only.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd be interesting to see how, like, if it was like, how do I tune my derailleur? Like, that would be such an interesting question.
Yeah.
To see if it It's probably going to take some article that talks about something like that and create its own formatted version of that. So it'll probably be decent.
Yeah. And it's only going to get smarter and more proficient, faster, more accurate.
And I imagine just like DALL-E 2, which is the OpenAI's previous project where they did imagery, I imagine that there's going to be 50 other versions of Chat GPT that are very similar, but you have to pay to use.
Yeah. And there are a lot of image generators out there that you do have to pay to use right now. And there are other AI engines out there that you have to pay to use. This is really the only true open source one that's free for the most part, I think.
Is it open source?
Isn't that where they get their name from?
OpenAI? I bet it's open source.
Well, maybe not right now. Maybe eventually. Maybe they can. I don't know.
Good question. Don't know.
Maybe this is why a lot of Silicon Valley execs have been pushing universal basic income.
Yeah,
for several years
because they know.
Like we know we're about to destroy everybody's job.
That's a really good point. I mean,
I didn't even think about that.
Well, with this, writers,
right?
Graphic designers,
copywriters.
Yeah, I mean that it
computer programmers,
right?
App makers.
In the next, and I'm sure writers are thinking the same thing. Like maybe in a couple of years we could see like it could get there.
I mean, what about just like fast food restaurants? You already see them getting away from like tellers. Like I saw a video, a little short thing that McDonald's now has a computer arm that goes out and hands you your food and brings it back in just to get rid of a person, because evidently they can't afford to pay the $15 or $16 an hour that the minimum wage is.
Yeah.
And when you start to look at models like that, like a McDonald's franchise is not owned by McDonald's; it's a franchise. It's owned by an individual.
Yeah.
And there's money to be made there, but if the cost to have employees goes up to a certain point, then it can become a situation where I've looked at some of the math models or the business models where you could actually be upside down losing money on these things. So instead of having paid employees, they're trying to come up with automated ways to offset those operating costs so that they can keep a business healthy and thriving. I mean, there's a million different ways that you can look at this, but would an open source, or not an open source, but an open AI or Chat GPT kind of a thing where you can actually start to program in stuff where it's making you meals and you've got robots that are creating or doing all of the processes and serving the people for fast food restaurants. I mean, are we going to kill off an entire industry there because people don't want to pay those minimum wage dollar amounts? I mean,
I think where we'll see this is like the home use case scenarios will probably be like the last mile where I think you'll see it as like, and I think where we're probably going to start to see it more frequently is where it's warehouse management, Amazon fulfillment centers, things like that, where the jobs are fairly, get this package from this location, bring it here. Those things robots are probably pretty decent at because robotics is tricky.
And to put a finer point on it, we're not killing an industry in your example.
No, we're
the
not,
fast food industry is still there.
Well, you're killing the workforce, the labor force. Yeah.
You're just eliminating the need. I mean, it used to be, for us to make a phone call from here to Topeka, Kansas, there were, 7 different operators involved plugging wires in and out of different holes, right?
Yep. Where did those operators go? They're dead, Sean.
They're
dead now. And that's your fault.
Okay.
Or technology's fault.
Sorry. Progress.
And all in the name of progress.
All in the name of progress.
Margaret, she doesn't exist anymore. Don't you feel for her?
All right. Where are we at, Lance?
It didn't work. It wouldn't put into a calendar format. Okay. I tried to word it like 4 different ways, and it said, sorry, something went wrong.
Okay. So based on what you saw there, based on what you prompted it with and what it came back with, I think that if you followed that protocol and you're Cat 4, Cat 5 guy, that might give you something to work with. I mean, I'm sure it's going to need a little bit more information, or I'm sure that you could take that schedule and
it gives you a basic idea for each ride.
Yeah.
A 1-line description for each ride. And it doesn't give you the high interval training you're doing. It tells you to do high interval training.
I'm sure if you asked it, like, give me an example of a high interval workout on a bike over the course of 90 minutes. I'm sure it's going to give you that. But if you put all of that information in there and you knew how to refine it and you knew kind of what you're boiling it down to, you could probably even tell it, like, and this is my FTP, so tell me what power numbers to ride at. Like, would it start to like generate that stuff? So the $1 million question is this something that you could use to eliminate the need of having a coach?
I think it depends on, I don't know. I think it's
We're experiencing exceptional high demand.
yeah, yeah. I think does this eliminate a coach? I don't think so yet, but
Well, we're getting off
as
close.
it iterates
Yeah.
over things, yeah.
Yeah, the early adoption, you might not get the best results, but you're going to have better results than not having any coach at all.
I think a system. I think what's interesting, and I know companies are doing this. I've seen like a running company that's like built around AI coaching, and I've always thought this would be interesting. Is if you have enough people responding, like this worked for me, this didn't work for me for coaching or whatever, then you could build a very, like, I'd say capable coach, AI coach.
Yeah,
and I think with cycling, you know, I would be doubtful that, you know, here's my FTP, give me a range that I should be cycling in addition to the training program. I'd be doubtful that it would nail that, but maybe if you could refine it enough, I think maybe it could.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, if it knows what the zones are and it knows what number it's working off of and it knows what those percentages are, that's basic math. I mean,
Right.
it could technically come up with something. So
It's quit working.
Oh no.
It's done with you.
It's done with me.
killed it.
I keep refining it and it won't give me anything else.
Yeah,
Is
That's interesting.
Is this something that any of you guys would use?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, not for coaching myself, I don't think.
Well, I like,
but
the thing about coaching
Yeah.
is you have accountability with a coach.
Yeah.
That's the biggest part of coaching is you have accountability with a person or with somebody else, not just, okay, or I paid for this training plan, so I don't want to
Right.
waste my money. I'm going to do the rides it's telling me to do. It's not like I just generated this free thing and,
it doesn't matter if
going
you
to
don't
the
use
fair
it. Yeah.
instead.
Here's what I would use it for as far as training goes. I think if I were in a situation where I'm like, I have no idea what I'm should do today, and I want to do a workout, and nothing looks good to me on Zwift workouts or whatever, generate a workout for me, and it would do a good job with that, I think. And I could plug in my own FTP values if I want to or whatever. But
you could
I would
even alter it too. And I didn't get good sleep last night, or I'm
Yeah.
a little malnourished today, or I'm hungover.
those
or
days
I'm-
I know just to like keep it chill. But so
Yeah.
for me personally, it would be like if I want to work out and if I want just something different, I want a new workout, give me something new, then I would use it for something like that.
Yep. Here's another question for you. Would you be upset if your coach used this program and put in the parameters that they want to work with just to draft the program, and maybe you went back and did a couple small tweaks and just said, here you go? So as opposed to maybe taking, say, 45 minutes to an hour to draft you up a really good program, they put that in there. It kicks out something in 5 minutes or less, and then they go in there and kind of put a little
tweak
polish it over another course of another 5 minutes, and then what took them maybe an hour before that they're giving to you in 10 minutes. Are you going to be upset about that? Because not for nothing, that kind of stuff is going to start happening. Everybody's going to think that they're a coach.
Well, I think it
because
already does. I mean, with some of these larger coaching groups,
Right.
Yeah.
They're just using a
course.
you know,
program.
they're using some canned things and doing some fine tuning.
tuning with it.
Okay.
Even
Right?
small
So-
coaching groups, probably like Evan. Evan would be a good person to have on the podcast today, but he blew us off. But no, I mean, like even him, he's probably got some sort of like concepts that he uses and reuses over and over again to save time.
Okay, well, so let's look at the training program I use. I use Trainer Road.
Yep.
They've been using AI detection for the last 6-8 months, I believe. And so after every ride that you do with Trainer Road, it goes through your future calendar and gives you changes that you can accept or reject that it recognizes that it thinks you need because of your performance
Right.
of the previous workouts, and including other rides you've done that weren't workouts.
I could
So
see
it gives you automatic AI
Right.
updates.
And-
Plus, it has an AI FTP
Oh,
estimator.
that makes sense. See, those are the things I feel are more valuable in a lot of ways. Like they're using AI correctly, I think, to refine your training,
Right.
and better predict your FTP values.
That's a definite value add, because the old program was just kind of a cookie cutter ish kind of a thing where you put in some numbers and it kicked you back out some stuff. It didn't take into consideration who you were, how you were progressing, how you feel, how you trained. It was just like, nope, just keep moving on.
Trainer Road is significantly different than it was 8 months ago.
Yeah.
Just because all of the AI that's incorporated with it now.
And what's interesting is they have a ton of data over the past
They do.
12 years of
Yep.
being in existence, and they track everything. So if you start a workout and you don't finish it, they're taking a note of that. Like Lance didn't finish this workout.
It will even ask you, it'll say, what do you think, what's the reason why you didn't You know, it looked like you had trouble finishing this workout. What's the reason for it? And you can say, I was sick.
Yeah.
I was fatigued. I didn't sleep well. It gives you like 10 different options just to hit a button and move on. Huh. And then it will adjust your training plan accordingly.
So that's a value add for you.
Yes.
Would you take that over a coach working with Chat GPT to like kind of kick out some information?
Well, yes, right, because you're cutting out the middleman. Basically, you're making the training industry more efficient.
Right.
More efficient means removing a lot of the cost, which is individual coaches.
Sure.
Now, a coach that had 10 clients, now this virtual coach has 100 clients, 1,000 clients, unlimited number of clients. Right. And you just made it so much more efficient. Therefore, the price should come down.
Sure.
The difference, the biggest difference, I think, is, okay, I don't really have accountability to Trainer Road.
Right.
Okay, yes, I'm paying, I think I pay $15 a month or something for the program. And
Their pricing model has been very interesting lately.
yes, they're working on some things.
Enter Strava.
Right.
Where you have community accountability.
Yes.
Right. So you're posting for
You're posting
everyone to
these
see.
rides.
It's like, hey, Lance, I see you've been slacking off lately.
What's going on with their pricing model? I missed that.
They had a grandfathered clause in for all their original users.
Okay.
Where their price would never raise for as long as they,
Originally, 12 years ago, it was $6 a month.
Sure.
And they said, we want to, if you don't want to ever, like,
if you keep
if you
this
want
up,
to, you can keep your price forever. He just, like, the owner was just like fired that off one time, and he's been sticking to it.
Oh, okay.
And it's been a problem because of inflation and all kinds of other reasons.
It's not really, it doesn't work.
So they put out a message, and he's been like, hey, listen, we're not funded by anyone. We've built this whole system, and we are going to give people the option if they want to opt into a slightly discounted rate. I think it's like $12.99 instead of $15 or something, or whatever. Or option C is like, if you really want to keep the $6 and whatever per month, that's fine too.
Okay,
we'll let you keep it, but
Yeah.
he's just saying it's really hurting us by letting you keep it. But
and it was basically along the lines of like, you have a year to decide. I think
Well,
is
that's
kind of
when
how it
you
goes.
add new features
Exactly.
and make it accessible. Only you can keep your same features, same level of service,
which
same
they've
cost.
done. They've done tons of new features. I mean, it's a whole different platform from what it was 12 years ago, but I think he's just sticking to it. Like, this is.
I've got an app that I use called Notability. You've probably heard of that before, and it's a great app. And I purchased it. And it was just a one-time fee, and then they wanted to change the model to do like more of an annual fee because that's where the money's at, I guess.
Yep.
And they gave you the option to stick with the one-time pay, but if you don't move over to the annualized, this is what it costs model, then you just don't get all of the new features and the updates that are going to come out. So I'm pretty much stuck in time with respect to how this app works.
Right.
And they'll constantly update it, so it will work on all the different iterations of the new iOSs and whatnot. But I don't get like 10 things that it does, but I don't use any of those 10 things. I think it's a great app, but
Nice.
I'm envisioning that Training Peaks is kind of
Training Road
should probably do the same thing if they want to adjust their business model. Yeah. But did you opt to give them more money, or were you?
It was.
I wasn't an original guy. And plus, I've gone in and out. I've paid for a while, and then I'm not using these programs right now. I didn't pay for it for a year, and now I'm back doing it, so I have a little bit more direction with my workouts.
Gotcha.
But they have been clear. They have their own podcast, which is actually really good.
It's actually excellent. Yeah,
it's really good. Very, very good science in their podcasts talking about training and training.
I think it actually used to be better than it is now.
It's really quite good. But they've been very clear on the podcast. They are a bootstrap company, which means they have no angel investors. They have no investors, period. They only make things better as the income comes in to make them. So
I really thought Zwift was going to buy them.
Yeah, but by Trainer Road.
By Trainer Road.
That would have been great.
There was a lot of talks.
I lost a bet about that.
Yeah, there was meetings that were happening and people were talking about. I thought it was imminent as well.
Me too.
But
Me too. I thought it was going to
not yet.
Happen. Yeah.
All right.
But my point in bringing that up was still, I don't have a person that I'm accountable to for my training. And if I had a coach, now see, coaching's different. You pay a coach $200 or $400 a month. I'm paying Trainer Road $15 a month or whatever it is. And so if I had a person that I was actually talking to, that I had a phone conversation with once a week, or email, association with, that can be really invaluable if you're really trying to narrow down your training and specify.
Yeah,
If you're
there's
having those
sometimes you have to
emails,
buy
what if
discipline.
What if you send that same email with all of the prompts to Chat GPT and see what kind of a response it gives
question.
you? Like, hey, I've been doing this program and I'm feeling a little rundown. I guess it's not going to have a reference point though.
And there's no consequences to just not sending the email. Whereas the coach is like, where was my update? Or like I feel like it's tricky to be like, to owe something to a computer program.
Right. See, with most live coaches, they're going to use the Training Peaks software, and when you record your workout, you get to make some notes in there about
Training
what happened.
Peaks, not Trainer Road. There's
Training Peaks.
So just to make sure that's clear to people. Yeah.
So you go and and you make notes. Okay, I really struggled with the third interval because I don't know if I lost focus or if I just suck recently, but I'm just not feeling all that well. Plus, I didn't really sleep all that good last night. You can say these things, and your coach can say, you know what, tomorrow, don't do the interval session. Let's do this instead, and here's your workout. Now, can that be something you could ask ChatGPT to generate for you? Probably.
Yeah.
I've been doing this long enough in my own adult life that I kind of know when I need to take some time off and when I need to like really buckle down. But if I'm new in a sport, I'm going to hire a coach.
Yeah. What percentage of training athletes, triathletes and cyclists do you think actually use a coach? That's not a very big number if you ask me.
No, I bet it's 10%.
Yeah, that's about.
I bet it's 10%.
If that, and I would say that this over here is going to be a pretty good resource for them if they need to better shape their workout. And if they really want to take that next step, then you're going to need to look into getting a coach or a more sophisticated system.
When I was a triathlete, I only did it for 3 years. I did it for 2 years with cookie cutter plans, like with Mark Allen or with Hunter Allen. I did cookie cutter plans. That third year where I really wanted to be good, I actually hired an actual live coach, and I think I paid him like $400 a month.
It's expensive, yeah.
He made a significant difference in my fitness and my racing ability.
Was it because of the plan or was it because of being accountable?
Great question.
Right. We don't know.
I am a very competitive person. And I certainly am always.
It's funny, he only plays stuff that's like annoying to us.
One of them is being a triathlete, trying to be the best type of.
He plays my like cyclocross one sometimes, and I'm like, why did I say that? Why am I on this podcast?
That's off a YouTube video. It's not even something I said on this podcast.
You put it out to the world, and I found it
myself. I'm gonna have to delete it.
Anyway, think about how many dumb things I've said on YouTube.
That's right.
I don't need to put dumb things on there for myself because I do it to myself every single podcast. Don't worry about it. Stepping on my words all the time. Bleh, bleh, bleh. That's all, folks. There has to be a bunch of other ways. And I got a couple things up my sleeve here. I want you guys to think about other ways that cyclists and triathletes could use Chat GPT.
I imagine that if it's not already being built, it's in the process of someone that's just like, Coach AI, come here and we'll generate the programs for you. And it's using some sort of system like Chat GPT where every training program is slightly different, adjusted for you. You come back and you give us feedback on how things are going and adjust your plans.
That's one thing is knowing how to prompt the system too. So if somebody really becomes sophisticated at knowing how to prompt the system as it gets smarter, they can put in better prompts to give a better program. There has to be a better way for that to be integrated into your actual training so it can see what you're actually doing and look at every last little minute of your ride to see what you're put into the bike and where you screwed up and things that you're doing right and wrong. I mean, that could be pretty crazy, but
I mean, Garmin's a good company to consider a lot of this stuff. And I know that they've got a lot of these things in place currently, and they're still working on it and developing stuff because they have access to your heart rate, your training, if you're in the Garmin ecosystem, how you slept last night, all of these things where Apple isn't necessarily interested in using that information for coaching, Garmin is. So there's some interesting things that are happening there that, I think it's, again, I don't think we're going to like see some sort of big slap in the face. Now your coach does all this stuff. It's just going to be slowly like the suggested workouts that you get are going to get better and better. So it's not something that I think we'll notice. It'll just kind of slowly progress if we want it to. Yeah. I don't use the suggested workouts.
What happens, we use this program, this open chat AI,
GPT,
whatever it's called,
Open AI,
and we get a bad result. with the litigiousness of our society.
Yeah.
What happens to this whole thing?
But a bad
does it
result
get
in
crippled?
training for us is just like, okay, I didn't podium.
Well,
and so
what if
who
you
cares?
broke your leg because of the program that it gave you, or overtraining? You had a stress fracture.
Yeah,
are
who's
they
responsible?
liable?
What did it say in there when you first prompted that? Like, let's say that you decide you're going to take up cycling and you've got some family history and you're incredibly like out of shape and you've got maybe some heart issues or whatnot. Did it give you a prompt in there to like seek medical advice?
Right off the bat.
So, I mean, that's kind of a little bit of a CYA there, but like, I don't know. Give me an example of what you think could be bad advice.
It's
I don't know.
important to consult a coach
we were talking
before
about
attempting a 50-mile
recipes or things like that before.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
someone has an
peanut
allergic
allergy.
peanut
Yeah.
allergy, and like you kill your neighbor's child or something.
Do you think?
I don't know.
Do you think it has some sort of, some sort of like terms of service or whatever? Like, we're not responsible for what this thing kicks out. You can use it at your own risk.
You can ask it, how can you make, or how can you use Chat GPT to find out evil things, or I don't know, prompt it to ask like, what are some bad things that can come of using this?
What was nice about the imaging system that they created, it's Dolly 2, but spelled slightly different. But anyway, they were very careful with the rollout of that. It's like, you can't use this to generate different people doing different things. Like, give me a picture of Lance humping a light post. Like,
You couldn't ask for that. Those exist, so you don't have to
you don't have to
one.
generate one of those. But there's
With
so
a
many
sparkling undercarriage.
sparkling.
Lance romance.
But
Not me and
but
the
a lot of times it was like, you can't use celebrities, you can't use these things. They have a whole bunch of rules for their image system, and I think OpenAI is a good company doing good things. But there's other companies out there that are going to use this stuff for less beneficial things to society.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that OpenAI, I'm very happy with that company. I'm a big fan of what they're doing. But they're just exploring things.
Here's a suggestion. This might make your life a little bit easier. It could make it funnier. It could make it, I don't know, a bunch of different things, Lance. Use it to generate ride titles. Give me 10 funny ride titles or 10 funny titles related to.
I work hard on my
I'm
ride
sure
titles.
you do.
They're
Lance just like, I can build up the treasure trove of ride titles. Here
I'm
we
pretty
go.
sure there's different companies different little
They're plugins
tools
for Strava that you can use to auto-generate.
To auto-generate titles.
Those are terrible. If you use those, just know. We know. And they're terrible. That's just my 2 cents.
It actually tells you when it's been generated.
Yeah.
When it's auto-generated, I'm like, that's almost just not even fun. It makes it seem like you're just trying to automate something. It's not. It's not fun. It's not.
GPT going to do better. It would be great if it looked at your ride and then gave you something cool. Like a cool title.
I would think it would be better if it just didn't tell me that this was auto-generated. That's just
Then
you
it would
push
be
and
better.
upload, and you walk away, and you have no idea what it says. It's like, that doesn't make it funny. I know that
Yeah.
Lance took the time and he thinks about these things while he's on his ride. Like, what am I going to title this ride today?
Not just that, but if I'm watching a movie and there's a funny line, I pull out my phone and
make the note.
I
at
have a
effort
note.
they use.
I have a note file just for ride titles.
AI can go to hell.
Forget AI. If I think of something funny,
You want it.
I write it down in the ride title so I
That's
can.
good.
Yeah.
Does it reference, like, let's say, like, what's a classic movie that you could get some funny?
Oh, like Step Brothers.
Yeah. So.
Oh, yeah.
And that falls within the time frame. So prompt it, say, give me 10 funny one-liners from the movie Step Brothers.
So I just asked it, give me 100 funny ride titles for Strava. And
interesting.
And
it's doing it?
It's doing it.
Anything funny in there?
No.
Are we up to your level? No.
The tired and emotional ride. The leisurely Sunday cruise is not good.
That's lame.
The sweaty sufferfest. Yeah, that's not good.
No, for some people it might be. But what if you asked it, though, to look up or to give you 10 funny lines from the movie Step Brothers and see what it says? That'd be kind of interesting.
It's going to look around for funny lines that someone has talked about online, right?
Yep.
So we're going to have some ideas of what it's going to to come up with. The
But
question is,
it
can
doesn't
it
have
come up with
access to the
10?
internet. So it basically, did it capture the entire internet?
No.
I mean, from
It
2021 and back, I mean.
It probably used like crawling system, right? So just like like Google does this too. Like all of these search engines, they're crawling the internet and they're kind of following things along links and stuff like that. It's got 10.
Quote 1, I'm not great at the advice. Can I interest you in a sarcastic comment?
See, that's something that Lance would put on his Strava.
Perfect.
Lance just like, I just hit the mother load right here.
Stupid. This just saved me hours.
Now everybody's going to be Lance Hepler with their ride titles on Strava.
For sure.
What is something else we could use this for?
I think, man, I like the idea of one of the hardest things for me when I'm like working on videos is kind of coming up with what I'm going to say and stuff like that. And I think at least having this as a starting point is going to be helpful.
Yeah.
But you could use it for creating whole video ideas, especially if they aren't ideas about, like for me, if I'm talking about latest, greatest technology, probably not going to help that much. But if I'm talking about like something motivational for you to consider, like this thing could write that up.
Yeah.
No problem.
Reference the past. I mean, would it give you it's going to give you basic answers. Like, tell me about the Tour de France from 1963. Yeah. It'll give you all of the things, and you can say, all right, bullet point that down to
5 bullet points.
Or like, 10 things that happened during the course of that. And let's talk about that. And so you could go back in time and you could have all of that information prompted for you, put into a script, and you could basically have a whole podcast or whole video about that in the matter of a minute and ready to go for you to get on the old microphone and deliver that to the people.
How would a tool like this, how could you incorporate it into a bike store?
That's a good question. First and foremost is, I mean, we know that the entire world is going, to direct to consumer, and they're doing internet stuff and whatnot. And brick and mortar shops are becoming smaller and smaller. So in the grand scheme of things, you need to have a hybrid business model at the worst case scenario of being able to sell online as well as in the stores. So first and foremost, you could use this to write some blog posts. You could use it to do SEO. You can use it in that search engine optimization and putting all of that fun stuff in there. You have to be careful about that, though, because if you're using that, Google is very keen to that, and they will actually penalize you if it comes back with one of those scores that shows that this was written by a bot. You have to go in there and refine it.
If you did a daily blog post to up your SEO on your website, and eventually Google would figure out that this is all AI generated, and it would hurt your ranking.
It's going to hurt your ranking, but you can
refine it yourself a little bit. I think you could use this.
But the point of using this is that instead of taking an hour and a half to write a blog post, you take 5 minutes.
It's probably different than that. It's probably, instead of taking 10 hours to write a really good blog post, maybe an hour, because I think you really do want to refine it yourself a bit, give it your own style, maybe. I don't know. Eventually, and the other thing that I think is really interesting is if you are an online persona enough, like Marques Brownlee, you can say, give me this in the style of Marques Brownlee, and it'll look back at your own publishing and give you things in that particular style.
But like I said, there are other engines that you could use, and you can input your own style, and it will kick out something that's kind of sounds like Matt Legrand did it.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty interesting
So
platform.
Get online, people. Or don't.
And just other simple little things. Instead of like taking the time to sit down and write something like, all right, here's a 10-point plan of how to maintain your bicycle when you're at home before you bring it in for a tune-up with us. Here's some things that you need to do. I mean, and you could just kick that out. You can read through, yep, that looks good. Going to sign off on that. And you can hand it to your customers as they're walking out the door. I mean, that kind of stuff could work decently well.
Absolutely.
But as far as selling hard goods, I'm sure there will be more things that are going to come out. Right now, off the top of my head, I can't really come up with anything. But if you're going to, support it with maybe a video, maybe you need a script to talk about like the benefits of wearing the appropriate cycling gear when bad weather's around you. You could use that to kind of guide you in your adventure of disseminating that information to your end user.
Yeah,
that could be fun. It could be good.
Yeah,
but for me, I don't know. Lance, is that something that could ever help you as a dentist in your former life, or maybe an investor now? I mean, because there are a lot of people that are using this to understand how to use the stock market, how to make investments, and how to budget.
What it doesn't do is
drill people's teeth.
That's correct.
Damn it,
but like
GPT.
As far as investing, what it doesn't do is look at future things. It just can tell you what trends are in the past.
Yeah.
It can't tell you what the future. It can't tell you what possibly the future might hold.
This iteration, yes.
Yeah. Okay. We don't.
Well, AI has been used in predictive investing for as long as AI has existed, right? Yeah. And so everyone wants that. They want to predict the stock market. So
correct.
It's just hard to look at the past and predict the future.
Yes.
So
there's
AI
trends
can
that
only
happen, but there's always outliers.
Yep.
So it can crash and burn for you. I don't know.
Anything else that you guys can think of that would fall into the jurisdiction of being a better athlete, better triathlete, or cyclist that this could use you or help you use? I mean,
people are going to come up with really cool ways to use this, and we're going to be like, why didn't we think about that on the podcast?
Yeah.
It's going to be fun to see how things go over the next. It's only going to be the next couple years before we really see this stuff kick in. So,
yeah, interesting. Sean, you got anything else that you'd like to add to this?
No, I'm trying to think of different ways we could use this as cyclists, triathletes, runners, whatever it is. These training programs are good, but I think one of the keys is being able to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And so it does take a lot of effort on your part. If you're going to replace a coach,
yeah,
right, you have to be able to lead it more, where the coach would have that ability to ask you more questions, ask you more intelligent questions.
Yeah, I think all of us have certain areas of expertise, and if we know how to prompt based on what our knowledge base is, I think that we could use that to get some great information. But the problem is someone coming in looking for a coach probably doesn't have
right.
that. So
it's almost a better tool for a coach than someone that's trying to replace a coach.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's a good point. Or somebody that has been using a coach for, say, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and they're going to taper off and use it to be something that can guide you through like a winter training season, or maybe you just don't have the finances to pay a coach anymore because you lost your job at McDonald's because robots took over.
Damn it, robots.
Exactly. So maybe you can use it to...
Damn it.
Maybe you can use it to help better guide you down the road, or just keep the wheels rolling forward.
One of the many scary things about this, I think, is, and I don't know if this is true, but 100 years ago, I think men of our age were probably stronger.
Yeah.
Just like physically, because of just manual labor, right? Like I'm not sitting on it in front of a computer for 8 hours a day. Well,
if the shoe fits.
Yeah. If the shirt doesn't fit, then yes.
Exactly.
Right. But we're talking about using it during the creative process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things that makes us human. Like machines can take over physical things, but we still have that creative part in us.
Yeah.
So if we weaken that,
do we
then
lose
what
that?
happens?
Yeah.
Then they really do take over. And they do become sentient.
Well, what was it like? Was it WALL-E, the animated movie, where like these people are just
ever
like
since I saw this,
they just sit in chairs, and they press their buttons, and their chairs float around, and they just order like big milkshakes or whatever, and
they're
fly
all
around,
like
and they don't
morbidly
do it.
obese, and
they can't walk because their chairs move them around.
Yeah.
So when all of a sudden they have to walk, they don't know how to do it because their bodies have morphed into things that don't walk very well. Yeah, that was WALL-E.
Hopefully we're getting there.
Yeah.
Well, we don't see as many segues as I feared that we would.
Segways. That's one of those things that seemed like, oh, this is going to blow up. This is going to be big. Nope.
Got one wheels.
Sort of. There's lots of cool things, but Segway themselves didn't quite work out.
I don't know. It's an awfully interesting area, and it's almost one of those things like it's a great time to be alive. It really is. I mean, the amount of stuff that is happening in such a short period of time. If you just look at what's happened in the last like 10 or 15 years, and you kind of stop and think about, well, what happened in the 50 years prior to that? Like we've made quantum leaps.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen in the next 15 years? Is it going to be another quantum leap?
Absolutely.
It makes me almost a little bit pre-sad to think that I'm not going to be here one of these days, and like all these cool things. I'm like, no, I want to know what the iPhone 37 looks like, or what Chat GPT 20.0 is going to do. I mean, all of these things. Like I get a little bit pre-sad that I don't get to experience that.
Well, but the rate of change just keeps accelerating.
Yeah,
right?
And that's one good thing about we live in a day
even
and
if
age.
you only have 10 years left, Jake,
Yeah.
you're going to see a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of cars out there that want to run me over, so it might be less than that.
I know, right? Yeah.
Oh, but one other thing is like, I think that this could be a good thing for helping guide you. Let's say like you're somebody like me and you've had plenty of physical therapy and injuries and whatnot, like helping you out with like some exercise appropriate rehab training stuff. Like I'm a cyclist and I've got a jacked up torn labrum in my hip. What can I do? I mean, it can maybe help walk me down some paths, or maybe look at some pitfalls, or prompt me with some questions to ask my practitioners to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. So that's another cool thing. There's just so many different things that are going to come out with this. And like Matt said before, there's just so much that we don't even know yet. And people are going to like discover how to use it, that I'm really looking forward to that.
I've always thought that like, I'm surprised that there's not more AI in medicine. I always thought like 10 years ago, I was telling my wife, I was like, 10 years from now, AI is going to be like fully a part of your practice. You go in, your phone is recording the conversation, and it's helping you diagnose, issues.
Yeah, as it's
and
hearing
it just
the conversation.
hasn't happened yet. I've been like wrong. Here she is telling me I'm wrong. And so it's like one of those things where I just was like, how has this not happened yet? Because AI could do that. It could listen to a patient and be like, 70% chance that this person has the flu, 25% chance that this person has, coronavirus, just based on what they're hearing.
Yeah.
And it's not like you have to use this stuff and say, well, they said this, so that's what it is. You can use it as a tool to guide you to provide, like, ask more questions, or maybe, which labs are you going to get with this particular thing? I can't believe it hasn't happened yet. And I think a lot of it is
WebMD AI. You haven't heard about that? You poop in a thing and you pee in this other thing and you sneeze in the other thing, you send it into them, and they tell you what's going on with you, right?
I haven't played with that yet. Sounds fun. Sounds lovely. But
I'm sure it's coming down the pike. So.
Yeah, theoretically they should be able to do this. It's the technology that's not an advanced.
Well, here's the
use
question:
case for AI, but
do you think it's out there, but they're just wanting
too many regulations
exactly
to use
not
it?
Wanting to use it? Yeah, because of liability reasons.
I think that they could use it. It's a couple of things. Like medical record systems kind of feel ancient and old and decrepit in a lot of ways, and they're just, I don't know, you guys probably didn't use anything like that with dentistry, but like they have like Epic systems and things like that, and it's all broken, all the systems from different offices and things like that. It's a big
Instead
mess.
of being one general thing where everybody adds to your medical record and everybody can access one spot for everything, that's not
it's all a mess.
Every hospital and doctor's
They're
office
all
has
in
their own systems. Yes,
and then
it's
they're
not
all
universal.
Each of those systems takes like 10 years to develop, so you're working on or longer, and so you're working with these systems that are basically like frozen in time from 10 years ago. And then you have older doctors, because it takes them a long time to become doctors, that don't want to adopt new technology.
Yes.
And then there's the other piece of like all this medical information has to be it's privatization of being careful about HIPAA rules and all these things like that. You can't just like bring your phone in and record their conversation. Like that's a huge HIPAA violation. How is like an AI system going to learn to diagnose if it doesn't have access to that information? So there's a ton of problems and things like that. And I think the problems are not technology-based problems. I think that they're rule-based problems and adoption-based problems.
People problems. I use I go to the Vancouver clinic, and that's a pretty solid platform.
Right.
I don't know if anybody else here does it, but they and a bunch of other larger organizations use a platform called MyChart. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
And that works really well. That's been my most favorite thing that I've used out of all the medical practitioners I go to, because all of my medical people are tied into there, and it's all got a central place where I can get all of my information. I can see all my visit histories, see all my notes, all my scheduling, everything is done right there. So I'd imagine something like that could be easily integrated into some sort of an AI system, and that could maybe be a step closer to what you're talking about.
Yeah,
it's all
use
database driven.
MyChart too. It's good. There's no AI systems integrated in that.
No,
particular
not yet.
piece.
But I'm imagining, because it's all database driven, that's something that could be eventually worked in there.
And it's tricky too, because like I could see it somehow, if they had permission to be like roll through all of these physicians' notes, right? Like there's a whole bunch of notes from each doctor visit that you go to. Your doctor writes a note on that particular visit. If an AI system rolled through all of those notes, it could probably look at that stuff and be like, hey, have you checked to see if his gait is off, which is causing hip issues or whatever? Like give ideas for things to check out that the doctor might not think about. But that stuff, as far as I know, isn't happening yet.
Yeah. And take that a step further. Imagine if you could actually give it access to, say, the heart rate monitor that you wear on your wrist, and all of the metrics that you're getting there from your sleeping, or the workouts that you're getting. Or,
well, it's actually easier to go that route because as soon as you don't go through like the medical system, like hospital or a doctor or whatever, then it's not HIPAA issues. So someone like Garmin can do that stuff.
Yeah.
Apple protects your medical information pretty carefully. Garmin might play with that stuff.
Could you ask Garmin or opt in to have Garmin share it with your medical provider?
I don't think that there's a system in place for that.
But if they were
Apple's the one that has the most. So from your Apple Watch, you've heard of people like diagnosing AFib, like heart conditions and things like that. And so Apple, I think, is the most integrated, not necessarily it's not like you can take that information, send it, but you can email that information to your doctor. It's email. It's not like it's like integrated into your MyChart system or anything like that. But a lot of the cardiologists like the fact that these Apple Watches are helping people diagnose issues more frequently.
Go make an app for it. Use Chat GPT.
You can do it. You can make an app, but I think it's more along the lines of
we don't need Matt anymore.
It's not the programming that's the hard part. It's the compliance, the people problems.
Yeah, I feel you. All right. That was an interesting topic. Is there anything else that you guys want to add to that? There's so much more, and I'm sure we're missing a bunch of stuff, and maybe this is something we can touch on when we know a little bit more and once Sean has had some time to assimilate everything, because I can see the wheels in his head turning. Yeah, can have him come back on. We can talk about this a little bit more. But anything that you guys want to add to this before we move on?
I don't think so.
Matt LeGrand.
We're probably
killing it.
Long.
We went long on our OpenAI talk.
Yes.
It's a long ride.
I'm excited for the technology. I'm less fearful of Skynet.
I would say I'm more balanced, I guess, with fearful and excited.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and I'm excited and a little bit, tiny bit fearful. I mean, I've had some things happen in the past couple of days that we're dealing with on our website. Hackers trying to come in and process claims, and it's been a bit of a problem for about 4 days now. We were getting over 600 failed transactions on the website. And like thinking back in my head, did they use Chat GPT to build this malware to try and buy this stuff? And what scared me is because it generates this email, it generates the address and the phone number and all that stuff. The address and the phone number have all stayed the same. The IP address has been staying the same, but it's been trying to run all of these different credit card numbers on our thing, and it comes back as a failed attempt over and over and over again.
For those?
No, I don't have to pay for it. Thank God. And we've got, layers of protection on the website, but there was one that went through. I'm like, oh, that's interesting that credit card worked for that person. And then I just have to report that back as a failed attempt that was, fraudulent and whatnot. And so I was getting about 600 of these, and then you have to go and you have to delete them all out and trash it and all that other stuff. And I've since built in another layer of protection. There's a plugin that you can use for the website that will actually allow you to blacklist people that use a certain IP address or a phone number or an address and all these other things. So it'll automatically like block it and delete it and mark it as spam. But last night before I did this, I just put that plugin this morning. There was over 16,000 failed transactions that totaled over $320 million worth of business on our website. I'm like, man, if that was just like, it's bonkers. But if that was like legit and we sold bike stuff to everybody around the world last night, that would have been rad. We could have retired. But no,
that wasn't.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people will use this technology for evil.
Yeah.
And of course, we need to try to use it to combat that evil.
Yeah.
And we'll finally find out what is good. What is stronger, good or evil?
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's a good thing. I mean, this could be like a tipping point for us to like maybe squash hackers out there. I mean, they're always going to be working against each other. It's just like who's a little bit further ahead than the other. Arms race. So
arms race.
Anyway, that was just another story. But there's that kind of stuff going out there. But like, could I use a Chat GPT in the future to find out like, hey, how can I combat this? And maybe it'll give me a bunch of reasonable ways to go about doing that.
Maybe.
I don't know. We'll see. Anyway. What's up, Lance?
Nothing. It's time to be real.
Champ Bailey, top five here. In the top five.
Hey, Champ Bailey.
Champ Bailey.
Are you on the GPTs, Champ Bailey?
I am not doing GPT. I'm looking at Cyclocross 24 website to see what has happened this week, but I already know because I watched every race I could watch.
Did Woot almost bunny hop a wiped out MVP?
Very close. He came very close. The big race was the World Cup race in Zonhaven. This is a very famous race because it has a huge sand pit that has this.
It's a downhill sand pit too,
yeah,
which is
and
bonkers fast.
They went down it, up it, down it, across the side of it, up it, and down it again. Yeah. So they used it more than they had. They changed the course of what they have in the past. So it was
do you think that
crazy.
upsets the riders, or do you think they're like, oh, this is gonna be fun? What would your take be on that?
I think they're excited for it.
Huh.
I think they like the changes. So
Interesting.
I think they like it. Wout he kind of rode away with it. Vanderpool was in the race. Pidcock, he's only planning on doing maybe one other race with these three. He's now focusing on the classics.
I wonder why.
Yeah. So, I really hope that Vanderpool and Wout just
mop the floor with them in the classics.
Yeah. But whatever. Regardless, Vanderpool was actually racing very well, but he went over the bars a couple of times and once right in front of Wout and actually stopped Wout. But eventually Wout ended up getting away and he won by like almost in a minute and a half over Vanderpool. So he kind of smoked it. They were really fun races to watch. The women's race was equally as entertaining. Fem van Empel, who hurt herself in the snow race in Italy, she was back and on the first lap went over the bars twice. On the downhill sand twice. And then she sat, you could tell she like picked up her bike and sat there like, what the hell am I doing here? But she eventually got back on, worked her way back up to third, even though she was like in 20th or something. So it was impressive that she actually finished the race and actually made the podium for that. So that was exciting. Other than that, there wasn't a whole lot else that happened. So it's cycling.
How many more races are left in this cross series? I mean, it's the Super Prestige, isn't that what it's called?
Super Prestige, there's a few more. There's 3 series. There's the Super Prestige, there's the World Cups, and then there's the X2O series. So there's several of them that all run concurrently in Belgium. That's why it's such a crazy time period. Okay. There's like 40 races in Belgium in like a month and a half or
World
something
Championships,
like that.
when is that?
It's in February. It's like the first weekend in February. It is also in Belgium. No, it's in the Netherlands. It's in Hoogerheide. I think it's on the coast. And this is they had it there a few years ago, and Vanderpool just smoked everybody at this race.
Was Wout there?
Wout was there. And he got smoked by Vanderpool. This was a few years ago.
Yeah.
So, but Vanderpool has said, and he mentioned this in his interviews, that his back is not good. It is still bothering him. And it's these hard, like heavy sand races are hard on him and hard on his back. And he's like been clear about this.
Is this still stemming from his little over the bars at the Olympics a few years ago?
It was already happening before that. That made it worse.
Interesting.
So it just might be something he's
Is he going to finish the season?
He's planning on it.
Okay.
He's planning on being at the World Championship. Him and Wout have both said they're going to be at the World Championships in February.
Don't you think it's Wout? I mean, the guy is just dumb. He's been dominating, I think.
If he doesn't have a mechanical issue, it's kind of his race.
It's always a race, right?
Yeah.
MVP being injured, is that a convenient statement for him to come out and say because he's maybe not too happy about the fact that Wout's mopping the floor with him? Or
I don't know. It might be legit. It might be legit. My feeling is that it's legit. I mean, although when MVP was kind of smoking Wout never made excuses.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. If we get to the classics and MVP's out there and all of a sudden he just is like a rocket ship and everything's fine, I'm going to call BS on this whole back issue from the cross season. And I'm just going to say, dude, you need to own up to the fact that Wout smoked you. Every single time except for once when, what was it, a chain broke or something like that? Or
he got a flat tire.
That was a flat tire.
In the last like quarter of a race, he got a flat, and otherwise they were together. But yeah.
They've been crazy awesome to watch. I can't even put words to it. It's just been fantastic to watch. It's so much fun to watch these races.
Best cyclocross season ever.
This has like been the best season to watch on TV that I can remember because it's just been, every race has just been so exciting. It's not like one guy. I mean,
when is the World Championship?
It's February 3rd and 4th.
Okay.
So it's coming up. So should be interesting. There's a couple more World Cup races before then. There's a few other Super Prestige and XTO races, but Wout and Vanderpool are also trying to prep for the classics, so they're not doing all of those. They will do a few of them.
And in classics are mostly March,
April.
Yeah. Okay. Should be fun.
So.
Did you happen to catch the Australian Road Championships?
No.
No?
I did not.
Did Richie Port take his rim brake bike?
Richie Port retired,
I know.
didn't he?
I know.
It's but like day 9 of retirement or something.
He he posted a picture recently, and he was biking around on like rim brakes and like shallow wheels or like old school rim wheels. And he was just a touch overweight, and people were making fun of him about his weight.
And he's not even overweight.
He looks like a normal person.
By everybody at this table standards, he's still like uber fit and thin, but he's just not the same Richie Port that we've seen for the last 15 years.
He's not
wasn't cool.
With
That's a pretty ass-hattery thing to do.
7% body fat.
7% body fat instead of 3.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. it was an Ineos rider. I can't remember his name. He's the one that won the road race, and that was actually a fun finish to watch. I didn't watch the whole race, but I was on the trainer the other
On the
night.
road, the Australian
roads. Yeah, I caught the last. I think it was like 6 or 7K, and it was funny because I was just doing like a zone 2 ride, and it was after doing a longer ride the day before, and wasn't feeling. Yeah, exactly, and I was watching that, and all of a sudden my heart rate went up, and all of a sudden I was pedaling faster, and I wasn't even paying attention because I was watching like all jacked up, watching the end of this race, and I looked over and I could see the profile change. And I'm like, maybe I should be watching more of these when I'm doing my workouts.
Right.
So, but anyway, yeah, it was a good race. He was, I don't know, go watch it. It was a good race.
All right, I'll
Javon,
watch
right?
It.
Yep. Cool. Is that it?
That's
Any other
it.
news?
No, there's nothing.
Anything triathlon-y going on in the world?
No.
Not
that I know of. If Evan was here, he'd be like, yeah, there is.
Sean, are you training for any races this year?
I am not training for any races.
You'll come do
that I
something with
know
me,
of.
right? We'll do some like sort of Columbia River or something. Chill.
Sure.
Okay.
Let's sign up right now.
All right.
Yeah, definitely not signed up for anything. Yeah, like I said, I was a recovering triathlete. We'll see how long that recovery lasts. But 20 extra pounds kind of hurts that effort.
Yeah, it does.
Makes it harder.
I might be more buoyant.
That's true. And that's like a downstream, so you just float on down the river, Columbia River.
Hey, it's that time to do the back pedal.
Oh,
We're gonna do a little back pedal music.
Is there
Let's
back
take it all the way
pedal
back to
music?
the beginning. We're gonna do back pedal music. There's right now.
All right.
It's usually a Patreon music.
Okay,
We're
I'll
gonna
go
use back
first
pedal.
because
kind of breaking the.
I
Go.
think it was last night. I rode Zwift, and they have their Tour de Zwift going on, which I just haphazardly was like, all right, yeah, I'll sign up for Tour de Zwift. Why not? I don't even know what Tour de Zwift is. I think you go ride each course each day or something, and like you start in a group, and it has this very race vibe to it.
Yeah.
And so of course I'd push it it was a short ride. It was only like 30 minutes or something like that and I was going hard. I was like racing this
It's
like
racing
Tour de Zwift
to stay on it.
No, but I mean, I just felt like it was a race. And so I felt like I was racing it. But it's kind of hard to start up your first 5 minutes of going all out, which is just so stupid. Like, how can I not if you put me in like the little stable and it's got the race vibe to it, and I want to do an easy ride, doesn't matter what you want to do. You're going hard.
Going hard at the beginning.
So, but it was fun. And
Did you win?
I was 90th place out of 600 or something.
How'd you do against the other gingers?
The ginger class?
According to their digital profiles, I did very well against the gingers. So
I love it.
The gingers they're a very competitive bunch.
On the week, how did your Achilles and ankle and heel and all that other fun stuff hold up? Get some runs in?
Yeah, which very interesting. Well, for the couple people that care, watching my Achilles rehab, I did a 6-mile run on Sunday, which is the longest run I've done in, I'm guessing, at least a year or more, because I had, before the surgery, the Achilles was doing really poorly, and then I had the surgery, and I was recovering from that, and so it's been a long time, probably more than a year since I've run that far. And it was one of those runs, I'm sure you guys have rides like this, where I went out for, this little run. I was like, I'll do 3 miles or whatever. And I came back and it was a little bit more than 3 miles. And I was like, I'll just go up this road a little bit to just round it out and make it 4. And then I got to the top. I was like, I'll just go to the top of this hill. Went to the top of the hill. Oh, there's trails up here. Went to those trails. And I was like, I'm going to be late for this swim meet in Corvallis now because I'm, 5 miles into this run. And then I come back and my wife's like, we're going to be late. I'll come back and pick you up, after a little bit, after I go drop the kids off at the swim meet. So then I'm like, oh, I have time to run a little bit more. No. I just kept running. I ended up with a 6-mile run for the day, which was really nice. And it was actually, it was a rainy, sloppy run, but I was loving every minute of it because it was just so nice to be running. So super happy and sore.
Good for
but
you.
Good.
Man.
Good stuff. So very happy with that. And I've been swimming a lot. So life is good.
Nice.
Yep.
Sweet. Sean.
Yeah, I think
Back
I mentioned
pedals.
that I'm not training for anything.
No.
So that has,
Yeah, you are.
Yes,
Yeah, you are.
I've had a rough
Been doing some Zwift racing?
fall and start to winter.
Uh-huh.
So, and with the bike in the garage, and it's been pretty cold.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
This last week, no excuse really.
Well, it's rainy. I bet all of us haven't been outside that much this
Oh well,
week.
no, I'm not. I'm talking about just being in
Even-
the uninsulated garage
Oh,
when
yeah,
it
yeah.
was
Yeah,
below
yeah.
freezing. Not a lot on the trainer, and I've been injured with a hamstring, so it's limited my running.
How's it feeling?
Matt and I were on the same training program, like run for 90 seconds, walk for 3 minutes, run
I
for
know.
90 seconds, walk for 3 minutes.
That's what I was saying. I was like really excited. I was like, we could go work out together. And then he was telling me his times, and I'm like, damn it, you're too fast. I was kind of hoping that you'd be like, yeah, I can go do some 9-minute pace stuff with you. And you're like, no, everything's
sliver of time when I've been too fast for Matt LeGrand. But we did add something new and exciting, and it kind of ties into what we were talking about before, or has the potential to.
Oh, yeah.
We installed a tonal.
Have you guys ever heard of
system.
tonal?
Ooh, yeah.
So it's a.
Is that one of those mirror things that has like a video graphic in it? And
video graphic, and it has like the arms that telescope out and down and all around. And when we were talking about purchasing discipline before and things like that, we made this investment in this system, right? So
you want to use it.
Probably.
And, you have to have all these different programs depending on what your goals are, and you have the.
Can you program it to yell at you like, "Hey, get your beep in here to get a workout and come on"?
It's more like
arms and legs day. Let's go.
It's more like Peloton, so it's like a teacher there, like very energetic. Go get it. I think it's cool. I think it's really. There's some really cool little pieces of technology because I stopped by his house and checked it out. Like so, you can like weightlift with it, and so let's say you're like you want to do bicep curls with 30 pounds or something. Well, what's really crazy is there's this little button on the handles. It's like 5 pounds until you press the button, and then it's 30 pounds. It's really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, so it turns the weight on and off. Like it's using magnetic resistance, I guess, to
it's very
control
neat.
the weight. So and it'll detect your effort during your range of motion and adjust the weight accordingly.
Wow.
And you sign up for programs. Like right now I'm on a 4-week strength program.
How's it going?
And it's
Are you 2
going
weeks
well. So like
Okay.
I'm into week 2, and what's great about it is I don't really think about it. It's like having that training program set.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, I'm just going to do what I'm told.
Now it's going to come up with a program for you to follow, and it's got an instructor for you to see. Is it kind of just monkey see, monkey do, or is it correcting you through the process? Does it have some sort of way to see your form or your technique?
There is a camera built in that I don't think is active.
You work out naked though, don't you?
Oh, I would do that just because of like, hey, because I can upload this to your servers, jackholes.
But it's actually pretty incredible. Like the technology that's involved, and it can detect if your motion is has a lower or if your range of motion is too short. It'll say drop that lower knee further.
Sure. Wow.
On this next rep.
Matt LeGrand, will there be a video about this in the future?
I
would be very interested in
really?
seeing that. Yeah. I don't know if that. I mean, it kind of.
There's nothing planned.
Okay.
No video planned.
Make it happen, Sean.
I have to come over to Sean's house and just videotape him in the nude doing his.
I will have to put clothes on for this one.
Oh, okay.
Little Borat outfit
It's gonna cut our views in half, man.
If LeBron James does it,
we
you
could
know
put
it's
the
good.
second version on OnlyFans.
Or you know that the subscription model is that expensive because they had to pay him.
That's true.
Sure.
Well, they also have Serena Williams too.
Serena Williams and LeBron James.
Those are cheap athletes to get for sponsoring your stuff.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, and it goes through. It's not just the the strength training. There's cardio stuff. There's yoga. There's Pilates. There's whatever any other exercise mirror will do. This does, and like Matt said, is very Peloton-esque in the way that it's set up. And,
I'm guessing
and that's another thing. Like with these coaches and these trainers, they're training thousands of people.
Yeah
right. And they're using what I'm assuming is some type of AI to come up with the type of program and adjusting, and it'll adjust the weights.
Yeah.
As I go through, it's not just going to set.
Really?
Obviously, there's a monthly subscription fee. Do you mind if I ask what that costs?
Yeah, there is. It's $50
a month. Okay.
But it's for the household.
So anybody can use it.
Right.
At the
so
house.
Shelly and I are using it, and if you guys wanted to come, you could set up your own profile or just log in as a guest.
Let me in.
Let me in.
5 a.m. workout time.
Well, that's kind of cool. I'm sure that they looked at the gym model and what a family pays to go to the gym, and they're let's just undercut them a little bit, give them the convenience of their own home and trainers and
and it's a lot of trainers. Yeah. So
I looked at a before I got my Concept 2 rower, I was looking at Hydro Row. I don't know if you're familiar with that. That was like the one rower that really appealed to me because it was super quiet.
Did DesFit do a video on it? Do you know?
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
It looked really cool, and I like the fact that it's got like graphics and things that you can follow, and you can see how fast you're paddling on the water and all that fun stuff. But I'm like, I don't want to pay the $35 a month for that. I can just use the Concept 2, and it gives me a little data readout, and you can upload programs into it and just watch YouTube instead. So I didn't want to have to pay that monthly fee.
Yeah.
Kind of kills the rower after that if you want to do your own thing.
Yeah, but I think they're really comparing this to the gym.
Yeah, that makes
gym
sense.
prices, which you're saving money.
Yeah, I mean, and for the gym, for Shelly and I as a couple, we were paying $100 a month, so it cuts it in half. But of course, the unit itself is not inexpensive. You know, with
what are those things?
All the accessories and the installation and all that kind of stuff is $4,500, I think. Yeah, it's not cheap.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, there's the other thing is you pay for that and you're like, I'm going to be using this. So that helps your motivation to be like,
sure.
Yeah, I mean, like the comment I made before with Lance, sometimes you just purchase discipline.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Like,
well, I mean, I always
do it now.
Like the whole concept of like, should I buy a new bike? I always tell people like, there is real value in having this new bike because you're going to go ride it. I mean, I don't know. I like the concept of occasionally getting a new bike and being like more motivated to
Whatever
ride.
inspires you.
Yep.
Cool. Lance Epler. Backpedal.
Yeah, I am totally on the wagon at the moment.
Yeah,
so I'm
everyone
kind of going
January.
full speed. Yeah, so
How much weight have you lost?
I've only lost like 10 pounds, like 8 pounds
since the beginning of the year.
Well, no, since
okay.
since I returned from the cruise on December 8th.
Okay,
so it's been a month.
Okay, that's good.
So yeah,
that's those are big gains for a month.
Yeah, that's not too bad. So I'm
highly disciplined with the nutrition side of things too.
I have been, yeah.
How many hours did you put in last week?
21.
Oh my
Whoa.
Lord. Of the 21 hours, how much was outside?
2.
Wow.
Ouch.
It's a lot of Zwifting.
That is a lot of
I'm
Zwifting.
going to go on the record again and say Lance is shaped like a Ken doll these days. Smooth and nothing there.
Nothing there. I've been batted down to nothing left.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just did one ride outside. It's been kind of rainy and nasty, and there was one day where there was no rain, but a beautiful east wind, and I went and rode it for a couple hours.
Did you get any KOMs?
Maybe.
It was windy.
It was windy, so
there's been some big wind. We've had a lot of wind lately.
But a good time. It's been a good week.
Yeah, weather's been crap, but it's all good. Cool, good job, man.
Thanks.
I'm curious to see what you've got up your sleeve. I know the wheels are turning up there. When I watch and I get the notification that there's a Strava and I look and I'm like, that Jackal rode another 2, 3, 4, 5 hours on the bike. I'm like, come on, man.
I've been like, I'll do my workout like in the morning.
Yeah,
like,
and that's another thing. You've been doing all your workouts in the morning, which is great for you.
Yes. And so I'm like, get that done. And then like 4 o'clock rolls around. I've done everything else I needed to do that day. I'm just sitting there like watching a movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I may as well just go sit on the trainer at like 160 watts for 2 hours and watch
my
when
FTP, you mean?
Watching.
Or join the team RGT rides and go in breakneck pace because you already did your intervals in the morning. So why not come back and get another hour and a half of like kill it?
That buried me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, but yeah, so I've just been, I don't know, on it.
Good on you, dude.
Good job, dude.
So we'll see how it translates. I'll
Jake,
go until I break. And then
did you also get 21 hours, Jake?
Just shy. I got almost there at 8 hours. So, but that
that's good.
That's great.
That's really good
for me. That's pretty good. I purposefully took off Monday and Friday, just trying to give the hip a little bit of a break. And then on Saturday, I'm like, all right, my hip feels good, not great, but feels good, and I'm supposed to just stay at a certain wattage. I'm like, I don't want to ride on another flat thing, so I did the Mount Ventoux on RGT and did about 6,000 feet of climbing.
Wow.
So, and I think it was about a 2.5 hour ride that I did in total on that. So it was pretty good. And I just kept it at a very steady pace. So wasn't hammering it. And I'm like, all right, this was proof positive because that I'm making progress. Because of that whole 2.5 hours, there was only about a 1 or 2 minute time period where I'm like, this is getting a little bit uncomfortable and tight. And then all of a sudden it settled down. I don't know. That's just progress. That's progress. So I'm going to push it just a little bit more this week, see if I can maybe ramp up to like 9 or 10 hours. And if I can do that, I think that there's a fighting chance that I can make it to training camp and get some of the rides in, if not all. So,
wow.
Great.
And we're 2 months out from that.
We are.
That's going to hurt, but it's all good. All right, one last thing, Matt, go.
Okay, I posted a video last week. I always give video updates for people, and it was how to pick a GPS watch in 2023.
Press pause for
pause.
Matt's telling us, but he almost looked at Sean like he was telling Sean what he was
What'd
doing
I do?
here. Sean, this is our 256th episode. How many of them do you think you listen to? About 10 or 12?
Oh, more than that.
Maybe 15?
50.
50? All right.
75. I don't know.
Okay. You've been listening since the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
All right. So,
Although I will say that it's a little harder to find since it fell off a Stitcher.
it fell off a Stitcher?
It won't update on my Stitcher. It's like
Really?
September
Gotta get that
7th.
fixed.
September 7th was the last episode that I have on Stitcher.
That's really interesting. I did not know that. I don't check every single platform because there's so many of them out there. I generally will check Google because I get people will tell me like, hey, it's not coming up on Google. And then I will absolutely check Apple and iTunes, and then I'll check Spotify, and it's always up there. And sometimes we have issues with Apple, but they've been pretty good recently, but I'll go back and check into that. So
Yeah, and every so often, because I listen when I walk my dog, I always listen to podcasts and on Stitcher, and it'll cycle through, and it's always going back to the same September 7th episode.
Interesting.
It's
And I
gotta
was
be like the
that's
RSS
too old. I don't
feed
want to
or
listen to that.
something.
Yeah.
Go to the next one.
yeah, I'll get that fixed. Sorry, Matt, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt
that's okay.
you. So
if people do see problems with the podcast, let us know so
Yeah.
we can fix stuff.
yeah, there's
'Cause that helps.
a lot of parts and pieces that
They're
you think that that the hosting company we work with, they're like, yeah, you just have to upload it here and then we send it out to everybody. And if you don't go and check, sometimes you don't know. And
Right.
there have been times where I just assumed, and I came back like 2 or 3 days later. I'm like, hey, it's not up on iTunes, and then they have to go and fix things. So anyway, go ahead.
So yeah, video I posted last week was how to pick a GPS watch in 2023, and it's like a lot of stuff like what's your budget, what's your stuff, like what activities you're going to do. Just going through all those little things to think about if you're picking out a watch. Because the question I get all the time is like, what watch should I get? And they just want one answer. They just want the watch that they should get. And I'm like, dude, I can't answer that for you. Like, I don't. If you're scraping pennies together, then don't buy the Epics because it's an expensive watch, right?
Tell
Like
everybody to buy the Casio calculator watch.
Casio calculator
Yes.
watch.
Just tell 'em
every
straight up.
time.
Just let that be
That's
your-
the watch.
Yeah.
You don't even have to watch the video. Just know Casio calculator watch. But yeah, so that, and then I have a ton of videos that I have listed that I've wanted to make that I've started working on. And if I could make like 4 videos per week, I could get through my list. But otherwise, it's just going to inevitably pile
Is that
up.
something you would ever want to do?
I would love to have more time to work on videos. It's just I put a lot of time into each video,
Yeah.
and so 1 per week is the right amount.
Yep.
And I think it's good to have a backlog.
You could ask
I guess.
Chat
GPT.
GPT to prioritize. Which
Prioritize
ones you
my
should do
list.
first.
I should do the things that are more popular first, but whatever.
Do what makes you happy.
Yeah, do
There
the
you
ones
go.
that are
That's
more
the answer.
interesting to you because they'll get
Yeah.
done.
Well, I'm going to do like Garmin 955 after 6 months, and then with also probably a Garmin 255 after 6 months, and then a couple of things with the Apple Watch Ultra, just like, how's it after 100 days? Maybe I'll do like a video of that, and then which watch straps to pick for the Apple Watch Ultra. People
Gotcha.
are very interested in that watch, so
Sweet.
keep making some of that stuff. And then there's some other interesting things. Did I tell you guys about that sweat sensor that I've been testing?
Yeah.
So I've got a video on that coming up, as well as the Zwift Hub,
Oh yeah,
which
their new smart trainer.
which I'm very excited about because it's a budget smart trainer, and I think it's going to be very helpful for a lot of people to get into this particular, like just get into indoor riding.
Yeah.
But
It's like $500, but it's a smart trainer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's rear wheel off.
Rear wheel
It's-
off
it's-
smart trainer.
It's great. I'm excited about it for budget-minded people. Probably not for a lot of this group that listens to this podcast, but for a lot of people that are new to indoor riding.
Yeah, I'd love to see a comparison contrast. I mean, you got to set up all of the trainers in a row and just jump on them and say, all right, how did that thing work?
Yeah, how's it feel? How's it work? Does power drift over an hour
Is
or
it
2 hour
accurate?
ride?
Yeah.
I think that
Is it
might be
quiet?
a slight issue with that particular trainer, and so I still think it's one of those things where I might recommend it just because of the budget pricing. Where it's like, if you're brand new to indoor riding, you don't know if you're going to like it. Spend $500 as opposed to $1,000. That's a big difference in price. I don't know. So that's where I'm at, and I still have lots of testing to do on all of those things. But I rattled off like 5 or 6 videos that I've got planned or whatever that I want to do or I've started, and it's like can't get to them all.
Too much.
Too much.
Sean, one last thing.
One last thing. Well, I'll be excited to come back if you let me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you an update on the tonal.
Oh, on the
because
tonal.
it is it's been pretty exciting.
Are your shoulders going to be able to fit through the doors though when you're that ripped? Because it's kind of narrow getting in here.
Well, if Lance's head could fit through the door.
Good point. Good point.
It's that imaginary lat syndrome is like swell up. Oh yeah, that'd be
Getting
great.
swole.
Love to have you back on again. Lance Hepler,
Yeah.
One last thing.
I'm leaving town again.
Where
Like
you don't know?
you do.
Okay, Arizona.
I'm going to Arizona.
Lance is going to bike camp.
Going to bike camp.
You're gonna bring some bikes.
I am taking all
Literally
my
going to
bikes.
bike camp.
Collect them all.
Yes.
All my bikes.
My
Your
wife.
TT bike.
my wife. Yeah, not taking.
No.
No. My wife has a pickleball camp in Mesa.
I think that's awesome.
Not
I
camp.
love that. That's awesome.
It's a pickleball tournament.
Yeah.
I should clarify. She's doing a tournament with some friends of hers. So she's going down for that. I am meeting
Your
her.
wife is the coolest person I know.
She's pretty cool. I'm meeting her with the bikes and the dog in the van later.
Oh, she's gonna fly, and
She's
you're gonna-
flying down.
Okay.
I'm driving down. I'm waiting for a part for the van before I can leave town.
Okay.
So
It kind of makes more sense if you're bringing all the bikes
it does
that
to
she's
just
flying
drive.
because she's
Yeah.
How many is all these days?
Well, he doesn't mean all his bikes.
I take 3 bikes. I take my road bike, my gravel bike, and my mountain bike with me, and then her
You bring a
gravel
bike for her?
I bring her
Just
gravel
gravel.
bike and her mountain bike usually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So do you think you'll take 5?
Probably 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
We can fit them all.
Yeah, put one in the front seat,
That's
lean it
right.
over your as you're driving. You're just like, which wheel am I turning? Oh, wrong wheel.
But I am doing a cycling camp in Tucson, but that's at the end of the month. So at the cycling house, which is
what is this?
It's a one of these fancy
some bougie bike
place where you ride like 60 or 70 or 80 miles a day, and they feed you. And
that sounds
you
awesome.
Sleep there,
They
and
apply the chamois cream for you.
Did you say that was in Tucson?
To the
It's in
sparkling
Tucson.
undercarriage.
Oh, I didn't know you were doing this. This
Yeah.
is cool.
So
they'll
I-
probably take you on cool rides.
Yeah, all the cool rides around Tucson.
Yeah.
Well, it's like 5 days of riding or something
They
like
motor
that.
pace you on a
So-
moped too, so you can get all the
That'd be
KOMs.
great.
Yeah.
No. So I have no idea what kind of
You
people
don't
are
know
going to
anyone.
be.
You don't know anyone else
don't
is going to be
know
there.
Anybody else
It's
is going to
be
be there.
fun. You're going to
This
meet a
is-
lot of people and make some friends.
This is some place that we were considering for our training camp.
Yeah,
because they have chefs and housing and a pool and a hot tub,
Mechanics,
and they have everything. So we were considering it for our camp. It's just expensive.
Yeah.
To when they have all of that, and I'm like, we don't need all that. All we need
Right.
is the housing.
But
But
go check it out and you can report back for us.
he gave me a little break to come check it out, so I'm going to check it out because we might bring
a team.
We're actively seeking sponsors.
That's correct.
To
The
send 20
cycling
people to
house.
cycling camp. Yep. We only need $60,000. So,
Something like
and that's
that.
a real number, but yeah.
So I'm headed down there to check that out. So
Cool.
We'll see how it goes.
Sounds awesome.
My one last thing, Matt LeGrand, I might need your help next week because Lance is going to be ditching me here. I've got a certain company that's bringing me a certain couple devices to,
I'm
to
in.
test out, and we need to.
We can
play
work
with-
together.
Yeah, we need to
Let's
play with
look
these
for
things.
good weather and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
Lots-
bad weather, or all the weather. I don't
or
care.
all the weather. I think, yes, I 100% agree with you that we should make more fun videos together because it would be fun.
100%. Yep.
Yep.
Really looking forward to that. Some new
Okay.
stuff coming down. Can't say what it is. Can't show you anything, but
More products to test.
more products to test.
Like,
and
add it
hopefully
to my list of videos that I should be working on.
videos to come. Yeah. Awesome. All right, Sean. Hey, we really appreciate you taking the time to
was
come out.
really fun.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm very thankful.
Play podcast with us. So
Play the pod.
we will be back next week with another one of these. And until then, bye for now.